I was still doing all right in like 6th and 7th grade. I was getting like all through elementary, I got like A's and B's, and then 6th and 7th grade, I started to get C's, and then in 8th grade, I messed up really, really bad and was ditching school a lot and not doing my homework and not paying attention in class, and I fell in with the wrong crowd, as people call it, and I started doing just stupid stuff, started smoking pot and just doing whatever, not going to school. And I ended up having to repeat the 8th grade because of all of that and getting in trouble and stuff.
I met my dad when I was 11, so I moved down here with him when I was 13, and things were going very well. He was never there. He just, I don't know how to say it, but like this whole support situation, I never get any support, and he'd always be worried about work and the younger children, or I'm saying the ones that he knew longer other than me or what was going on with me.
The problems with my parents started when I was in 7th grade. I think 7th grade? Yeah, 7th grade, around 7th grade. And it was like a lot of pressure for me at home because like my mom would never be home, my dad wouldn't be home, and he would be in las cantinas drinking, cantinas are bars. And my brother would always stay home, and he would like I started not caring about my family. I started like thinking only on myself, not about other people. So I used to get out of the house and go with my friends and like not go to school and stuff like that. So I started doing my grades started going bad. But then I really realized that I wanted it to graduate. I didn't want to be like other people that don't have the studies, or that people that don't have the opportunity to learn.
When we look at our statistics, we see that the graduation rate, particularly for Latinos, is only at about 55%, which means too many Latinos are not graduating from high school. The African American graduation rate is a little bit higher, but it's still not where it needs to be. I believe that's at around 62%.
Nobody doesn't want to go to school. It's not that nobody wants to go to school. It's if you're forced to do other things, you're going to do it. You're not just always going to, I got to go to school today. It's not just everybody waking up saying, I don't want to go to school today. They might be pushed to do something like money. Like I said, there's a lot of reasons. I don't know, I can't name them all, but there is a lot of reasons that people do not attend school that people are unaware of, are blind to.
When I was attending North High School, I got kicked out of school for not attending school and fighting. And then I went to Westminster because it was just like a couple blocks away from my house. And then I got in trouble over there too for fighting and drugs. And then I couldn't attend no other public schools. And so all I did was hang out with, when I found out that I couldn't go to a regular school anymore, I just hung out with the people that I knew ditched all the time and everything. And then after a while that got boring. So I just stood home and ate and slept and cleaned and babysitted for anybody that needed to be babysitted. And then that got so boring that I would start thinking about going back to school and why I wasn't in school and what I need that was in school. Because I think everything in school is important.
Kids are going to stay in school if they feel there's some reason to come to school. Now, the other piece of it is a little bit more complicated, and that's who you hang out with. I mean, if you end up hanging with the wrong crowd, or a crowd that's not going to encourage you to stay in school, that could be difficult. However, if there is a teacher, if there is some adult in that school that you could go to and say, I'm about to mess up my life, what should I do? Or, I'm really confused, I don't know what to do, that person might be able to help you. But if you're a total, if you don't know anybody in that school and don't have that connection, then it's a pretty difficult situation.
I think early on, you have to be able to trust into your parents, and if you can't trust into that, if that's a bad scene, there's got to be a relative or somebody, another advocate there for you that you got to keep turning to before you turn in that wrong direction, because that just causes a lot of pain and agony.
Like in my certain situation, I had nobody to push me. I was going to jail back and forth. with, you know what I'm saying, with the gang thing. You know, that's another thing. If you're in a gang, I know it's not easy to jump out of it, but it is if you really think about it. If you separate yourself from that position that you're in, you know, because you can avoid every situation that you go through if you think about it, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I was. I didn't think about it. I was so impulse directed, like, oh, this is how I felt, so I'm going to act like this. And if I feel like saying it, I'm going to say it. But it's all about control. And control equals to motivation, you know what I'm saying? If you're motivated and if you want to complete something, a goal, you're going to control yourself.
My grandma's always been in my life. Like, I've always called my grandma for everything, but particular incidents that happened, like my mom calling the cops on herself to get help because she was on drugs or whatever, and me and my other sisters and brothers being in foster care, my grandma still made it a point to come and see me and push me.
My mom motivates me to go to school, and I have people in my family who hasn't been to college or had to drop out in high school also, but I don't know, there's things that I want to succeed in life.
You know, I think with every one of our young people, the most critical factor, we have great services, we have great programmings. The most critical factor for our young people is having an adult that believes in them and that cares about them.
What you have to do in life, as you're growing up, you have to be an advocate for yourself. And there's always somebody, in my opinion, that you should be able to go to and talk to about something that's as personal as your life and education. So if you can't find somebody in the school, you know, you got to find somebody out in the neighborhood. I don't care who that is, who would advocate for you. Because if you can't advocate for yourself, you're going to have somebody to advocate for you, whether it's a teacher, a parent, a brother, a sister. You know, obviously, the best advocate is yourself, you know, to advocate for yourself. But if you can't find somebody that you can, and have them and put some trust in them, because, you know, that helps you out in the long run too.
I just this past week taught 3 different classes at East High of 9th through 12th graders. And I asked them questions, you know, what's the most important thing in school? Is it smaller class size? Is it good teachers? Is it more textbooks? You know, what might it be? They all said good teachers. I mean, they said they'd rather put the money, if you're looking at how to balance a certain amount of money, they'd rather put the money in having high-quality teachers than even smaller class size.
You know, that's one of the reasons right there that, you know, people might not attend school and stuff like that. They might feel the teachers are rude, don't understand them. Because I know my situation when I was in high school, I felt like I was a number. And you know what I'm saying, they just looked at me like a number. I wasn't individual to them. They didn't try and get personal with my life or what I was going through. So I was like, what I felt was like, how can I accomplish this when I don't have anybody pushing me, knowing me how I feel in ways so I can work out my issues and my problems in my life to furthermore my education, but I didn't have that, so I fell off.
Some teachers don't understand, because when I was a freshman, my teacher wouldn't understand me. She would say, you have to do this because this and that, you know, I don't care, your problems have to stay at home. You know, don't bring them to school because, you know, you come to school to study, not to be worrying about your problems. I'm like, well, yeah, but how does somebody supposed to learn and, like, concentrate on something if you're having a lot of problems at the house, you know? And I'm like, that's not right, you know? And, you know, how are you going to concentrate on the lesson she's teaching? And if you're, like, thinking if your mom and dad are fighting again, where's your brother, how's your brother feeling, and all this stuff, you know.
Is there an adult in their lives who's willing to take the time to sit with them, to work through things with them, and help them gradually gain that confidence in themselves? I think that's the most critical piece to our success factor, is surrounding our young people with adults who are passionate about working with kids, who care about working with kids, and ultimately want them to be successful. And kids know that. Kids recognize when they're around that situation and when they're not.
The main thing that kept me in school is that neither one of my parents finished high school. They both dropped out. And my dad always told me that I would never finish school, and it's not something that was for me. And my older sister was the first one to graduate out of my mom's side of the family, and it just inspired me more too, because I consider my sister my hero.
When I was out of school, I started thinking about, like, what people at school were doing, Because while you're at home, there ain't nobody to call because they're all at school and there ain't nothing to do. And then like people would ask me, what's this times this? And I wouldn't know. My little brothers would ask me and I wouldn't know how to answer them. So stuff, just little stuff like that made me want to go back to school.